Hey, music man, won't you play me a song that gets me rocking and rolling along? Play me some country, some love gone wrong, and two-step this Cajun man home. Take me to church for some preaching, take me to school for some teaching, take me to Jesus for some healing, and sing me the redemption song. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Songwriter Sessions. I'm your host, Barry Chauvin, and we're here at Digital Sac-a Lait Productions studio in Houma, Louisiana with Pershing Wells. This is a show where we interview songwriters, and it's a lot of fun for me. And the song I introed with was about the Music Man, and we have as our special guest today one of my favorite music men, Mudbone.
Thank you, man.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure
man.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Mudbone, this is a show where we share what we know, and people are always interested in the musical journey of the artist. So that's my first question is, where did you start, and tell us about that musical journey for you.
Well, I guess the word start, man, they're the earliest part of my musical journey, I guess, is, I come from a real musical family, a gospel music family.
Really?
And my mom, when she was carrying me, she was playing bass. So
you were a bass guy.
I grew up right next to the bass
womb.
guitar. Yeah, I grew up
man.
hanging out right next to the back of a bass guitar.
That is so cool.
For my first 9 months. And then once we came into the world, like I said, it was just a musical family. We were always traveling around. Singing with some of the great Southern gospel groups, the Cathedrals, the Inspirations, the McCameys, Happy Goodmans, the Kingsmen were always my favorite. I loved growing up and listening to the harmonies. It was my first musical memories are sitting in the floor in the living room listening to my parents' quartet work harmonies relentlessly over and over and over. So that was it's the first musical thing I really remember.
And so your first instrument was bass or guitar?
Well, no, there was always instruments laying around the house, so I would tinker around on all of them. Piano. My dad's a great piano player, and I grew up tinkling around on a piano and thumping on a bass and playing guitar, but. Along about the time I was 11 years old, I decided I wanted to be Stevie Ray Vaughan for a minute. I decided to get me an electric guitar. I asked my mom for one for Christmas, and I got an electric guitar. And
it took off from there.
Yeah, and her family, they're all bluegrassers. And my dad had moved down to the Delta in Mississippi, about 10 miles from where B.B. King was born. So there was always that dichotomy between one side of the river being bluegrass and the other side of the river being the blues. So,
well, when I listen to your songs, it's funny you say that because even when you're playing the blues, there's a little bluegrass in there, and if you're playing bluegrass, there's a little blues in there.
Yeah. My bluegrass grandparents, I'd get back home from Mississippi, and they would be, son, that's a lot of string bending you're doing. That's too much bending them strings.
Right.
You don't need to do that too much.
Can't do that.
That's right. But literally everything on one side of the river went. Everything on the other side of the river went.
That is so cool.
So,
but you have a way of blending it. I think that's why I like you're one of my top 5 performers, singer-songwriters, because you have a signature sound.
Well, thank you.
And I think a lot of it comes from your instruments. So that's my next questions.
Right.
Tell me about that guitar, and then we're going to talk about that thing you're thumping on down there
All
on
right.
the floor.
Well, I had my bluegrass grandma, she had an old Martin growing up that I used to
By the way,
get
that's
the thump
another
on.
song.
Yeah.
My bluegrass grandma.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
She had an old Martin she used to pick on, and growing up, I thought every guitar on the planet was supposed to sound like a old Martin, and that turns out it wasn't how that worked out. And I've lived in Nashville playing guitar for other artists for 17 years. Made it to a pretty high level of doing that, and I did it all without ever owning an acoustic guitar.
What?
And when I started promoting my own music and my own art, I was like, man, I got to go get an acoustic. But it turns out, if you want something that sounds like an old Martin, that costs a bit or two.
It does.
And a mutual friend of a bunch of folks here in Louisiana and up in Nashville had a gig as a Taylor artist rep. And I went in and talked to him for a little while and let him know what I was doing. And he said Taylor would be interested in endorsing me as an artist and let me know that we picked out a model that I liked, one that rattled my teeth enough. When we picked that out, he said, "Hey, now we'll hook you up with that one." He said, "I took some notes on what you were saying, and they'll custom build you this model to your specs, and they'll send it to you." So this is her name's Stella.
Come on,
and she's the only one on the planet. So
they built that for you.
This would, if there's ever enough of a demand, this would be the Mudbone Signature Series Taylor. If I can move 22,000 units,
I'd like to be the first one to buy if it comes out.
Well, if we can find 21,999 more people
that want to buy
it,
do a run.
We'll make a run of them.
Well, maybe this show will start it.
That's what's going to happen.
That is so cool. How long you've had it?
About 5 years now. I've had it about 5 years, and
well, you told me one day, you said, "Oh, let's go in my truck because I don't like to leave my guitar in the vehicle by itself." So I know why you're saying that now. Yeah.
I'm pretty particular about that stuff. I've had some mishaps and things out on the road. So somebody actually. I went out to my van in the middle of the night. I had left it out there and ran up real quick to drop off my suitcase and stuff in the hotel room. And I made it back out to the van and had a handful of stuff. It was raining. I didn't lock the door. It was gone for 2 minutes. Came back. It was gone.
Oh, man.
And I posted it on social media. This was in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I think 2,000 people shared it within a few minutes.
Wow.
And whoever, I guess, decided to borrow it brought it back and set it down outside the hotel. So,
oh, my God.
I guess they figured
that's another story.
Yeah, it was a scary thing. So I like to keep her close to me at all times.
Yeah. So your signature sound is that thumping.
Well, it's about the beats.
It's about the beats. So tell us about what you're thumping.
Well, a lot of the old blues players used to do that. There's a fella, his name's C6 Steve, and he's got him. He calls it a Mississippi drum machine.
Oh yeah.
And it's a suitcase with
they
a
were
microphone
traveling with
in
suitcases.
They were
so
traveling.
They had it.
They were traveling with it, and it adds the beat to it. But I don't know. There's some mojo in it. I got it down here in Morgan City. Was with my good buddy with that sauce, Mr. Scott Green, and we were sitting there eating some breakfast. Yeah. Hey Scott, thanks for helping me out with the drum. We were sitting there. I asked him. I said, "Is there a Goodwill around here, a thrift store?" I said, "I need to find an old suitcase I can use as a foot drum." Right. He said, "Why don't I just put it on Facebook? Maybe somebody's got something they want to get rid of." And there was a lady in hospice care, and her nurse sent a message and said, "There's a whole set here of old suitcases that is going to get thrown away. So come grab them." I was only going to get one, but it was a whole set. And the nurse, she said, "No, you have to take all. You can't break this set up. You have to take them." When I got them home, the lady, and I'm looking for her name, she had traveled. There were flight receipts from 1948. Commercial flight didn't start till 1952. In the suitcases. There were U.S. Senate passes, and there were swizzle sticks that had the name of all the major European fronts from World War II. So whoever the lady was, she was flying around right after the war, and I don't know what she was doing, but she's still in there. She likes to play the drums. There's a lot of
stories in that case.
There are.
Oh, my God.
And it's an honor for me to carry them around.
Yeah.
I'm glad she still gets to travel around because I could tell she loved it.
But don't you find the instrument and like that case, it impacts your songwriting?
Yeah, it does.
And your performing?
Very much so.
Because you feel that connection to the instrument, you feel that connection to that case,
Absolutely.
And maybe her life, and maybe some of her energy
100%.
Is coming through and makes you a better writer.
Well, writing and performing as well. I feel lost when I'm without it now. If I'm doing a solo acoustic performance and I don't have the if I don't have the suitcase with me, it's a strange feeling because there's just it adds so much. But you're right about the energy. I can feel her in there. She's happy to be traveling around.
Yeah, I play other guitars, but I've had this Ovation over 40 years.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. It just when I write on the Ovation.
It's an extension of your soul.
It is.
At this point.
It is.
Yeah.
I think we're connected.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know you're traveling the country. You put out some CDs. We talked about playing venues and all of that stuff. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, there's a lot of all of it. Mostly good though. I have a good time. I love it. I would do about 6,000 miles a month. And
that's some miles.
Yeah. We put it on. I go through a few oil changes a month.
Right. So what advice you would give a songwriter today, about their art, their songs, and we were talking earlier about it's got to be real.
It does.
So, talk about that from your perspective and
Well,
what people want.
We live in a time period where there's sort of two music businesses.
Yeah.
There is the superstar mill, where you go on the game show and
Right,
TV and you
right.
get the prize and you get the superstar. Then there's everybody else. There's the independents. And
Right.
if you have substance as a writer and as an artist and as a performer, and you take the independent route, it's hard.
It's very hard.
It's pleasurably hard though, because as difficult as it is, there's so many fulfilling things that happen. And I think the most important thing is be not afraid. That's super important. And the second thing is just go do it.
Yeah.
Don't wait on somebody to tell you how.
Right.
Because there is no such thing as how.
Yeah, I had a
hard.
writer tell me one time, I said, well, why don't you write? He said, well, I'm waiting until I get good at writing before I write. I said, no, that's not how it is. It's a journey.
It is a journey.
You start, and as you write, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
And the more you share your songs and you write with other people, you're going to get better.
That's
but
true.
you'll never get there
If you don't.
And it takes courage to
It
put
does.
yourself out there and put your material in front of people.
Right. Well, a couple of different kinds of courage. You got to have the courage of being able to just pour your heart and soul out and your emotions and your feelings out to a group of
yeah.
people. And then there in Nashville, you're doing that to a group of people while you're sitting next to the best
Right.
in the world at it. So
Oh,
so you
big
really
time.
you really get humbled really quick. I used to walk around. I would tell everybody. I was a guitarist for 17 years in Nashville,
Right,
and you
right.
kind of don't tell people you write songs when you
No.
play guitar for them, because they don't want you to pitch them your stuff
Right,
all day,
right,
and
right,
they
right.
don't want to hear it, so you
Right.
usually don't keep your job if they know you write. But I would just tell people that I hadn't lived enough life to write a song yet. And after about 2 weeks of knowing my good buddy, a man named Wayne Mills, I figured
yeah.
I'd lived enough life to be a
tell it.
songwriter at
Right,
that
right,
point in time.
right.
So, I give that credit to him. He made me flip the switch.
Oh, really? Well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
great. And a lot of times it's one person, it's a mentor
Yeah.
who kind of takes an interest in you and supports you.
Yeah.
I've had people encourage me because I'm not a performer. I don't go out and gig very much except at songwriter festivals.
Well, you could have fooled me.
But people encourage me and say, why don't you get out there and put out some of those songs?
Yeah.
I used to, if I was playing cover songs, I used to just sneak in one of mine and I wouldn't tell them it was an original. And then if people liked it, then I would say, oh, yeah, well, that's something I wrote.
Right,
But
right.
now you really got to be courageous and just say, this is
Here
my
you
stuff.
go. Here's what it is. And we were talking about it earlier about how, it's our job to reflect the human condition back to itself.
Back to itself.
So that the people listening feel represented in their emotions. A lot of times people feel alone in the
Right.
way that
No
they're
one
feeling.
else feels that way.
And
Right.
when you write a song and it reflects what they're feeling back to them, they know they're not alone. And B, they know that it gets better. So
Right.
that's
And you've
that's a powerful
lifted,
thing.
and you've lifted them up.
That's what life's about
And
for
man,
everybody.
that's a high. You can't get that from anywhere else. There's no substance on earth can give you that high
No.
as when that song touches them.
Well, the example that I like to use of that, and it's it was a very humbling moment in my life, and it made me recognize the power of what we do. I do a lot of work with military organizations, and sadly,
Yes,
there's
yes.
22 veterans a day commit
day,
suicide at this
right.
point. And I have a song called Christmas Whiskey, and it deals with
that.
PTSD and combat vets and alcoholism. And I had a guy walk up to me, and he didn't tell me his name. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't stick his hand out to shake my hand, didn't say anything. He just walked up to me and looked me straight in the eye, and he said, the first time I heard Christmas Whiskey, I had a pistol in my mouth. And he said, I heard your song, I heard the story, and I heard myself represented in that. And he said it made me change my mind. And then he followed that up with the next day he found out he was going to be a daddy.
Whoa.
And he's got a 4 or 5 year old daughter
And
now.
I have chills.
I
can tell you, I
Think
have
about it though.
chills
I mean,
going down my
you
spine.
sit on your bed and on the corner of the
Right.
bed and you write some stuff in a notebook.
And will anybody even care about this
will
song? other
anybody
than
care?
You?
And
Right.
so it's like I really feel like that's the goal. That's the job.
Right.
It's about creating art. It's about lifting people up. And it's not about making money. It's not about being famous. It's not about playing big shows. It's about connecting with one person at a time and making sure that their situation is better.
and
when
they're
you're
better
done.
off going forward. And really, I think that's those songs. We're just the medium it comes through. Some of these songs I think are already out there, and it flows through you to put it together,
absolutely,
and present it out there.
Yeah, let the song write
especially
itself.
that song right there. So the song you're going to do today is about a journey.
It is.
So tell us about it, how you came to write that thing.
Man, I do a lot of miles. I said, it's about 6,000 miles a month, give or take, and I spend a lot of time in a driver's seat. Luckily, this past year, I got to bring on a good buddy of mine, Mr. Ty Copeland, to help drive and help manage the road with me a little bit.
Great.
And is doing a great job. But it's, life happens out on the road for me. Life happens most of the time at 70 miles an hour. So it's this road I roam is the closest thing that I've ever known to the peace of mind and security of the condition you call home. That's what the song's about.
And that's in that song.
That's right.
All right, man. Well, I can't wait to hear it. Just go ahead and let's play it.
All right, we'll get it.
Okay.
Well, this road I roam is the closest thing I have ever known to the peace of mind and security of the condition call home. My easy chair requires shifting gears. Got a front porch view, roll for miles and miles. A reality on my TV is the real world rolling by. Yes, this road I roam is the closest thing the peace of mind and security of the condition you call home. Living room high up on the plains. Got a bedroom way down south of New Orleans. In my backyard there's a mountain chain. I stay rocky, mountain high. Yes, this road I roam is the closest thing I have ever known to the peace of mind and security the condition you call home. Yes, this road I roam is the closest thing I have ever known to the peace of mind and security of the condition you call home. Of the condition you call home. A condition you call home. The condition you call home. A condition you call home.
Man, Mudbone, I really enjoyed that song.
Thanks. Thank you.
I was, I have a big 1-ton dually, 5-speed V10 engine, and I can see me listening to that song with the windows down, riding down River Road.
River Road.
And that would do wonders for my soul.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's. I appreciate you thinking that.
Oh, yeah, dude. Perfect song. Perfect. Before we wrap up, what other thoughts you want to share with our audience?
Well, you were just talking about River Road, and I was talking about the river I grew up next to, bluegrass on one side, blues on the other. And it takes sediment and dirt from both sides of the river, washing into the river to make it the river.
That's right.
And American music is like that. For 300 years, European and African culture on this continent has sort of been doing that.
Heads, right.
And our music the whole time has been doing that. And we were talking about it earlier. Look at the year 1968. Music may be the common thread that has held this whole thing together.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
So I think if we're going to start a dialogue about commonality and positive relations moving forward, to me, it starts with music, 100%. And I think we can find commonality in that in a world that seems to focus on division.
Right. Oh, definitely. So I think we're part of history, even though we're living it and we don't recognize it. But every little thing you do is part of the bigger picture.
Oh, yeah.
So where can folks find all your music?
Well, I'm available on the internet. If you just search for Mudbone Music online, you'll find. If you just search for Mudbone, I ain't exactly responsible for everything that might pop up on your computer screen. But if you search for Mudbone Music, that'll take you to all my social media, my website. It's under construction right now, but by the time this thing airs, it'll probably be back up. Mudbonemusic.net, and then all your favorite streaming demons, your Spotify's and your iTunes and your Apples and your YouTube, whoever's tubes you listen to. Yes,
and you have 2 CDs out?
I do. I've got Rivers and Roads, Part 1 and 2. Rivers is old. I wanted to bookend 50 years of music. So we took 1927 and 1977. So Rivers, Part 1 is Delta Blues, Bluegrass, and Gospel. And Roads, Part 2 is like a 13-piece funky rock and roll band from the mid-'70s. So
that's history right there.
Yeah, I'm a music historian, man. I love what music's done for our culture over the duration.
Super, man. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is session 22. It's really getting up there, and it's so much fun for me to sit here and interview folks like Mudbone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so when we do the next artist, you'll get notified. So, Mudbone, what we're going to do, we're going to roll the credits, and if you would play a little bit more of that song, that'd be great, man. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Yes, this road I roam is the closest thing I have ever known to the peace of mind and security of the condition you call home. Yes, this road I roam is the closest thing I have ever known to the peace of mind and security of the condition you call home, of the condition you call home, a condition you call home, the condition you call home, a condition